Welcome, San Diego State students, mentors, alumni, and guests to the Fall 2019 AMP Talk and Networking event. The SDSU Aztec Mentor Program is a collaboration between Career Services and SDSU alumni that has resulted in over 10,000 matches during the past 6 years. Thank you, mentors and students, for being a part of AMP. We look forward to continuing our work to match students and mentors. Now in its 7th year, AMP focuses on moving careers forward by providing opportunities to promote professional connections and to support the career readiness of SDSU students. Employers are looking to hire college students and recent graduates who know how to communicate their talents, strengths, and goals. These students are career ready. Mastering the career readiness competencies will prepare you for a successful transition into the workplace. The 8 career readiness competencies are critical thinking and problem solving, oral and written communications, teamwork and collaboration, digital technology, leadership, professionalism and work ethic, career management, and global intercultural fluency. Tonight, join us as we learn from 4 featured speakers who will deliver talks focused on one career readiness competency to inspire you to move your career forward. Our first speaker is Phil Miller, who will speak about the career competency of digital technology. Phil currently holds the role of senior consultant at Deloitte & Touche, where he specializes in GPS advisory and cyber strategy. He graduated from SDSU in 2015 with his bachelor's degree in computer science with a minor in military science. In 2016, he earned his master's degree in management information systems from National University. He has experience working in information technology, leading projects that examine customer service, information systems, data center operations, and federal risk management through assessments and authorizations. While managing all aspects of project response and task development, Phil has proven his ability to bridge business strategy and technology in order to maximize productivity levels and achieve business goals. Please welcome Phil to the stage.
Thank you. Well, hello everyone. Like the lovely introduction said, my name is Phil Miller. I'm currently a senior consultant at Deloitte. I specialize in applying IT controls to information systems in order to assess their overall risk. I also have a bit of background working in medical logistics for the United States Army Reserve. Now, before we get started on our topic of digital technology and how we can leverage it in an ethical and efficient way in order to solve problems, complete tasks, and accomplish goals, I'd first like to stop and give a huge thanks and appreciation towards the likes of Dr. James Tarbox, Heather LaPearl, Juliana Tedesco, and Diane Marin, along with the Career Services staff, for just hosting such an amazing event for everyone this evening. It's such an honor and privilege to be considered by them to be presenting, and it's incredibly humbling to do so. So now on our topic of digital technology and how to leverage it ethically, we're really going to focus on the ethics portion of digital technology. And the reason being is because everyone in this room uses digital technology in a different way, depending on whatever activities they have to do day to day, right? But the thing that's unanimous between all of it is how we leverage it in an ethical manner. And so it's a known challenge that we as a society struggle with the ethical use of digital technology. And it's not because we don't understand the difference between right and wrong. It's just because we are always striving to be on the cutting edge of technology. We're on the forefront of being innovative and adaptive, and so it makes sense that as we sit on the brink of new technological frontiers, these digital landscapes that we find ourselves in leave us inherently operating in an ethical gray area because the line between what's right and wrong just hasn't necessarily been defined yet. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just we as a society haven't had that conversation to say, here's the best way to use this technology, and here's, well, maybe not such a good way to do so. And so we also think in mind when we're leveraging digital technology, not just how we use it, but how we represent our use of it to others as well. So a couple examples on screen that bring this to mind is to the left, you're going to see a split image of a Twitter user. I know a lot of us in this room are on social media and have our followers. And so just like anybody else, we want to be able to get people to like our photos, comment, respond, and have those social interactions. And so this Twitter user, in one side of the split image, it appears as if they had a huge accomplishment, went on like a momentous hike. They're representing themselves as being outdoorsy with an active lifestyle. But interesting enough, right next to that split image, what's really being represented is someone who just went in their backyard to pose for photos. And funny enough, it's her sister actually calling her out for just basically being a poser and saying, look at me, let's get likes. And even though it's funny and it's just mainly sisters being sisters, what causes concern is its ethical use, right? It's somebody presenting themselves one way when they're really representing something completely different, and they're leveraging a well-used media platform in order to do so. Now, as harmless as that may be, and it maybe not amount to much, and the image next to it is something a little bit more cause for concern, a little bit more nefarious. And what it appears to be is just a regular iPhone cable that you can plug to your iPhone or connect to your computer device. But if you look a bit closer, what you're gonna find is that there's an embedded chip inside that iPhone cable. And that iPhone cable makes you, the average user, think it represents something that you can just plug and play, but what it really does is it allows a remote user to pass payloads, commands, and scripts to enact whatever malicious program they want on your information system, and essentially breaching your confidentiality and taking whatever data they want. And this raises a huge cause for concern because it really does paint the picture of how one can unethically leverage technology to create bad actions from it. And so when we look at digital technology and ourselves and how we want to apply it, and we try to think of ways to make sure that we select the appropriate type of technology that we want to use, and we do so in an ethical manner, what we have in place already is laws and frameworks that industry professionals, government officials, and regulators have already went behind us and determined for us what that line between right and wrong is. And so some notable laws and frameworks in place are like HIPAA, which helps protect medical records and our personal information. Or for the DoD space, there's NIST, which is the National Institute of Standards and Technology, which helps protect the information of federal agencies and the data that they house. But in addition to the laws and frameworks that we have in place, not all the time do they keep up with the technology at the rate it's advancing. Either it just doesn't exist at all, or it's just too old to even be applicable to what the technology that we're using. And so something that we can rely on as a fallback is a code of ethics. And most professional organizations, especially IT ones, have a general code of ethics. And they hit on points around the idea of avoiding harm to one another, being respectful of one another's space, honoring confidentiality, being trustworthy, being honest, being transparent. All those points boil up into one. But you can really break all those things down into two main principles, and that is due care and due diligence. So what is due care? Due care is what a reasonable person would do in a given situation. An example of that is, imagine you walk into a grocery store and going about your day, and you come across a wet floor sign. Well, a reasonable person would walk around the wet floor sign and go about their shopping experience. Someone who's maybe not so reasonable and probably in a slight rush would just trudge right through, hoping not to slip and fall, right? A reasonable person wants to be able to practice due care. And in a sense of a business situation, due care refers to a test for negligence. And it comes down to what that negligence is applied to. And for companies, they apply it to their brand reputation. And so when you think of brand reputation, you can think of a lot of notable companies that have their market ideas out there. And one I think of is Tony the Tiger with Frosted Flakes from when I was a kid, but that's a notable brand. But you also have to understand how well protected that brand is, because they make sure that when they leverage technology to market it, they do so from color scheme to the industry they market in, to the target audience, and whatever it is, you name it. Us as individuals have a personal brand. It's something that in Deloitte, they hone in on, especially when you come into new hires and experienced individuals, to say, what is your personal brand? And as you go about your student lives and as you go about working in an industry, that's something that you get known for, is that personal brand. And companies want to know that you can protect your personal brand, because inevitably your personal brand will become their company brand. On top of due care, there's due diligence. And due diligence is the management of due care. Or in other words, it's simply following a process. And we mentioned on a couple slides ago the ability to follow certain laws and frameworks that are applicable to your industry. So it's not just your industry standards, it's your best practices, it's your certifications, it's how your business operates, your standing operating procedures for whatever industry or company or department you're in, right? And so when you combine these two together, due diligence and the practice of due care, you really create a well-rounded tool to leverage technology in an ethical manner. Now, what happens, say, if you're like, well, this doesn't really mean anything, I don't need to worry about practicing due care, I don't need to worry about due diligence, like I can just go use whatever technology I want, in whatever way I want it, and apply it in any manner. Well, lucky enough, there have been people out there that have done exactly that same thing. And so over the last 6 years, there's actually a timeline of notable hacks that have occurred in society. And I'll only cover a few, but one that really comes to mind is Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica had a huge hand in the presidential election of 2016. It also had a huge role to play in the Brexit vote. What they did was they took open source information that's on your Instagram profile, Instagram that lies on Facebook, Instagram that you post into the Twitter sphere, you name it, and they targeted certain groups with it to affect how they feel on very pertinent related social movements or political statements in order for somebody to get a result that they wanted. Now, this keys in on the use of ethical use of digital technology, because we have many different ways we can be advanced as a society with it. But if we use it in any manner that we see fit, it's very hard to get accurate data when we need it and an accurate picture of the information around us. So for key takeaways, there's a few points on board, but it really gets broken up into two categories. And that is practice your due care and use sound judgment. And by practicing your due care, you're going to be able to protect your brand reputation. And by using your best judgment, you're going to be able to make sure that you have that due diligence in place so that when you enter the job market and you work with different companies and organizations, they can know that you're using the best practices available to make sure that everybody's successful. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Phil, for addressing digital technology, a crucial career readiness competency. Our second speaker is Michelle Vargas, who will present on the career readiness competency of career management. Michelle is the manufacturing and operations quality manager at Illumina, where she is the only employee to receive the highest quality award twice during her past 4 years. Michelle has worked 20 years in quality systems for medical devices and aerospace manufacturing industries. She is currently working to complete her master's degree in regulatory affairs at SDSU. Previously, Michelle earned her bachelor's in industrial and systems engineering from San Jose State University. Michelle is currently the chair of the American Society for Quality, Section 703 of San Diego, and has 3 ASQ certifications: ASQ Certified Six Sigma Green Belt, Certified Manager of Quality Organizational Excellence, and Certified Quality Auditor. In her spare time, she mentors students from elementary school to college. Of note, Michelle is a veteran mentor in the Aztec Mentor Program. Michelle's involvement in the community and her proficiencies in engineering have allowed her to earn many well-deserved accolades, including the 2017 Outstanding Engineer Award by the Society of Women Engineers and the 2018 Engineering Service Award by the San Diego County Engineering Council. Please welcome Michelle to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be here to present to you and talk about career management. My name is Michelle Vargas, and let's take you in this journey. So to begin off, the definition of career management, you can see it here on the slides behind me and also in this poster. I'm not going to go through it because I think it's more important to talk about the key ingredients for career management and career growth. I want you to envision climbing this mountain. I want you to see yourself where this guy is with the backpack. Envision that as getting your college degree. Once you get your college degree, you're going to envision yourself climbing another mountain to climb up the professional ladder and go up that way. So these are 5 ingredients that I'll be touching tonight. And I want you to know that they're not in chronological order. You can do them in any 5 different ways. And these are the key ingredients that I'll talk about. One of them is to create a vision and have goals. Another one is to educate yourself. Another one is to do network and attend network events like this one. Have a mentor. Be kind and be grateful. And believe in your strength and yourself. So the first one is to have a vision and have goals for the future. If you don't have a vision, if you don't know where you're headed, you're never going to get there. So for you as students, I want you to envision yourself in the graduation ceremony day already, walking down the aisle with your cap and gown, your parents proud, your friends proud, whoever it is that's there to support you, all proud that you're going to get that diploma. When you're in the professional career, you might want to go to, for example, for me, I started as a quality engineer. I went to senior quality engineer and moved up the ladder. Now I'm a quality manager because I wanted to lead people. So, but you have to envision yourself in order to get there. And there might be many little milestones, many little goals to get to the finish line. But again, if you don't see yourself, it's never going to happen. But it's 2 things. You have to envision yourself, and then you have to work toward getting there. The second one is to educate yourself. So guess what? After you get your college degree, are you done learning? No way. So I have been taking so many classes after I graduated from college. I've been taking personality classes, coaching classes, statistics, Lean Six Sigma, etc. Educating yourself never gets old. I have here listed some of the certification classes that are free in the internet. You want to be up to the latest trends and technologies. That's why you want to keep up educating yourself. There's also some scholarships available for those that want to pursue your master's or PhD. And these are tools that you put in your toolbox. The more you educate yourself, the more competitive you'll be in the professional world. The next one is networking and mentorship. I can't tell you how important network is. And San Diego Career Service does a great job for all you students, putting network events, career fairs, etc. I was looking at my LinkedIn profile a few days ago, and I was counting how many jobs I got because of networking. And out of 7 jobs that I've had in my life, 5 of them I got through networking. How did I do that? I called a friend that was working in a company, and I asked, do you have an opening in your company? And they said yes, then I would apply. In other occasions, I would call a friend, and I asked, do you know the hiring manager of the group that's hiring? And I would ask that they turn my resume in, and that's how I got the job. So 5 out of 7 were through networking. Another thing that is important is attending these networking events and job fairs. Whenever you meet a person, ask them for their business card. Ask them to connect in LinkedIn. And do it right away. Do it within 1 to 2 business days. Don't wait a month. Don't wait a year, because they'll forget you. So make that connection, and they'll be able to help you. Another thing that has helped me a lot, in school I used to belong to the Society of Hispanic Engineers, also to the Society of Women Engineers and the Institute of Industrial Engineers. So there are many clubs in schools that are for students. They also have them for professionals. Attend the professional meetings of those clubs. A lot of times those professional meetings, they announce jobs. You can connect with new mentors. You can connect with the professional world. It's just a win-win situation. And then finally, the San Diego State AMP program, right? All of you are here because you have a mentor in your program. Mentors, you can find out, for example, if you want to work in the automotive industry, you find a mentor that works in the automotive industry. If that doesn't work out and you want to try biomedical field, you get a mentor that works in the biomedical field in another semester. And that way you can find out what is it that you like, where you want to go. This one is kind of simple, but it gets you so far. just be kind and be grateful. Just say, how are you? Can I help you? Thank you. How's your day today? It sounds really simple, but you don't know how far this would get you both in school and the professional world. Imagine if you're in a class and you are in a group to do a project, and there's two students, both equally as smart and both equally as talented, and then you have to pick one person, and one person is very sweet, going the extra mile, always helpful, and the other person just turns their back and makes grumpy faces or whatever that may be. Which one would you pick? And the same applies to the professional world. In the professional world, you might have a project and you have to select among two team members, which one's gonna be in your team. Same thing, which one would you go for? Treat others with respect, be courteous, give compliments. Compliments are free. You can always find something positive to say about someone. Like I said, this one's very simple, yet it takes you so far. Another one is to believe in yourself. Do anything that's possible to believe in yourself. You already are on top of the crop here. I looked at the statistics on how many people got accepted to San Diego State in 2017, guessing that most of you are juniors or seniors. And out of 69,043 students, 34% got accepted. So all of you that are here today, you should give yourself a pat in the back because you already made it this far. And also, you had the right amount of GPA and the right amount of SAT to get you this far. So believe in yourself. It shows in an interview. When I'm interviewing candidates, I can tell the ones that are self-confident and that they believe in what they have accomplished. Some of you might take meditation, yoga, whatever it is to give you that confidence, whether it's self-defense class, support groups, your family, your friends, whatever it is to take you there. Finally, I want you to look at this picture, and I hope you can remember this. If you see this picture, there's a path with a lot of people. The path is clear, it's easy to get there. Some of you are very lucky that that path is so clear and you can just go and finish it. For me, sometimes I just walk right through. Other times, I take a little detour, go to the side, to the right, and get stuck there for a little bit. And that happens because there's been unforeseen events in my family issues, personal issues, whatever it may be, I end up in that other path, right? What is important, though, and it's okay to take your time, unless you're parents of San Diego State and they probably want you to do it faster, right? But it's okay to take your time, breathe, and come back to the path. Whatever it takes you to get back into that path and finish that. So for you as students, I want you to finish that race of getting that college degree. And then guess what? Once you finish that, you go to a new race, a new path, and start all over again in your professional world. So you can either compare yourself to a path like this one or climbing that mountain, right? And again, as students, your first climb of the mountain will be get that college degree. That's so important. That just makes you a lot more competitive in the work field. And then once you're working, is climbing up the mountain in your professional career. So I want you all to know that I believe in yourself. I know that you can climb that mountain. And if you need anybody to believe in yourself, contact me and I'll remind you of that. First and foremost, I wouldn't be here as far as I've gone if it wasn't for the support of my husband, Enrique, my daughter, Christine, and watching me in social media, my other daughter, Sarah Lynn, my mom, Ligia, and my two brothers. If you do want to connect with me, my name in LinkedIn is Michelle Davis Vargas. I believe in you, and you got this. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, for providing direction about the need for career management. Our third speaker is Qamar Bradford, who will address the career competency of global intercultural fluency. Qamar is a business specialist at the Department of Rehabilitation of the State Government of California, where he provides professional development counseling to consumers and engages employers to ensure job placement of candidates. He works in close partnerships with both employers and government agencies in order to address our diversity-rich community's needs. Both Qamar's parents served in the U.S. Navy, which brought his family to San Diego, where he pursued higher education at Grossmont College in Japanese language studies. He transferred to San Diego State University, earning his Bachelor of Arts degree in Japanese language and minoring in fine arts. Upon graduation, he taught English as a second language in Fukui and Osaka prefectures for 3 years. Upon returning to the United States, Qamar opened an art studio, QAB ProServe, at the Brokers Building Gallery, for which he now serves as the vice president. After completing his Master of Science at San Diego State University, he followed in his parents' footsteps in rehabilitation counseling. Mr. Bradford is now converting his art studio, QAB ProServe, into a private practice focused on men's rehabilitation and talent development using creative therapy concepts. This focus was also one that Qamar researched in his thesis that addressed male rehabilitation. Please welcome Qamar to the stage.
Thanks for the introduction, and thanks to SDSU, especially Career Services. This is pretty momentous for me. And sometimes, usually when I get nervous, I'll speak in Japanese. So, こんばんは、俺は超緊張してるから。でも、なんか、これはめっちゃ大切ななんか発表だから、俺は頑張りますね。ごめんね。So, that's just saying I'm super nervous, but I'm going to stick through it. So, first slide, because usually I'm used to a little smaller, presentations. This is pretty large. To get down to it, I'm presenting on global and intercultural fluency, which is kind of a large concept to wrap your mind around, because when you say culture, people usually think continents, they think countries, they think, these really large, huge things, but it means a variety of things. It goes from all of the diversity demographics that you look at whenever you see that EEO statement that you apply to a job for. So to get into it, exactly what does global intercultural fluency mean? It means cultural awareness. And it means that cultural awareness is made of multiple things, including cultural sensitivity, which is essentially being able to notice all the variety and the differences of the people around us and to be able to distinguish those. Cultural competence is looking at our knowledge, our skills, and our abilities when you apply that to different walks of life. And then you have cultural humility, which is the ability to work with other people and be thankful for what they bring to the table and to be able to use your network leverage to benefit yourself and everyone around you. Now, when we think about culture, we have to understand that culture gives us solutions. The world has tons of challenges, and we wonder, how do we work through all these solutions? And it's culture that does this. It's culture that gives us ways of accounting that we borrow from other places, culture that gives us agriculture, culture gives us technology. And it's important to make sure that you're open to understanding that when one comes from a different walk of life, that's what they bring to the table, and that's why it's important for you to comprehend those things. So for my full-time job, I work in disability culture, which many of us aren't aware, but there is a culture too, how we have different functionings, whether it's cognitive, psychiatric, or physical. Now, it's pretty large a concept to wrap your head around, cultural awareness or global and intercultural fluency. Getting out of your comfort zone to go somewhere different or to talk to somebody who lives a different way, whether someone has quadriplegia and they're in a wheelchair or someone who speaks a different language. So it can be a challenge, but you really have to ask, is it that difficult to get out of your comfort zone and be more open-minded? But even better question is, what are the problems that we deal with if we don't? So naturally, in all of our industries, you have to deal with human resources. And in human resources, you also have, it's kind of a good way to compare it to healthcare. So just as a body, think of a business as a body can have issues with toxic work cultures or with high turnover. But in a way, it also works the same way in your own body, because if you have too many pollutants and things like that, it also leads to the development of cancers and things that harm the internal of our body. The next is if we think about the problems that we have in organizations that we work with, when you have monopolies in market volatility in our business organizations, it's similar to how we have crop failure or livestock decreases due to bad environments, which leads to the fact that scarcity in food and resources. And then lastly, another problem that we have to consider is, say, in our economy. So if you think about when you have problems with technology and you have dying industries and new methods, and then the mechanization of the workforce, which leads to having less jobs, which are both ecological and economic problems, you have to ask, what kind of future does that leave us with? Does it leave us with a future that's scary, like The Matrix or Mad Max or The Terminator? And it doesn't have to be that way. To make sure that you have the ability to be culturally aware, you have to just understand that you have to maintain certain things, like cultivating your network. You meet a lot of people, you want to hold on to those connections and value those connections. Sure, maybe someone's feed's super annoying, but you can always mute it, but you could stay their friend. You want to make sure that you share industry methodology, so that way, yeah, you may be a professional in one place, but then the skills that you picked up, as a waiter or working at a bar or working at a restaurant or, working as a janitor, that humility, that customer service, that bedside manner carries over and applies. And then also, you also want to make sure that you're an economic ecologist, that you understand that every person from every cultural background that you meet and that come from other places or have other different statuses have valuable things that they bring to the table that enrich your existence. And with all those things, we are able to have a society of universal access, and that's the ultimate goal. You think about the United Nations, and their goal is universal access. Otherwise, we have to deal with the potential of having a world run by robots. So, thank you.
Thank you, Qamar, for providing insight into global intercultural fluency. Our fourth speaker is Jerry Churchill. Jerry will present on the career readiness competency of professionalism and work ethic. Jerry has been a working member of the Directors Guild of America for the past 30 years and is their current council chair for the Associate Director, Stage Manager